Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Welcome to our presentation. My name is Natasha Jones and my pronouns are she, her, and I am one of the career advisors in the Office of Career Services. I am joined by my other co-advisor, Alyssa, who will be presenting with me. And today we'll be talking all about how to set up your LinkedIn profile, what to include in it, and also how to network and use different features on LinkedIn. Next. Great. So wanted to first start with talking about some of the useful things that LinkedIn can help you with. So LinkedIn has many features, but some of the main ones are that it allows you to establish your professional profile. So you set up your profile and it's a place where potential employers and people can search for you and read about you and learn more about you. So you can kind of consider it like a sort of long living resume where people can look you up and find your skills and your experiences. You can also stay in touch with friends and other professionals on LinkedIn, look at their profiles, message them, see updates that they might post. You can also find experts and ideas and more connections. So LinkedIn has a groups feature where you can find people that maybe share similar ideas and you can talk with them. And you can also explore opportunities and different careers on LinkedIn. So it does also have a job search feature, so you can find different opportunities. Next. Great. So now I'm going to be taking you through all of the different possible sections that you can have on your LinkedIn profile. Thank you. So first thing, with your LinkedIn profile, you want to make sure that your visibility is what you want it to be, that nothing that you don't want people to be publicly seeing, make sure that that's private. And you can also customize your URL or your link to your LinkedIn. So the default is usually, linkedin.com, and then some combination of your name and like several numbers. So you want to edit that, take out those numbers, and ideally have just some sort of combination of your first and last name so that it's easily searchable. And you can have this link at the top of your resume or on a business card if you want, and it just looks a lot nicer than a really long link with just a bunch of numbers. Just wanted to set the scene with that. Great. And then next, a couple other important features of your LinkedIn profile are your photos that appear at the top of your profile. So one is your profile photo, which is your headshot. You want this to be a high resolution image, and you only want you in the photo, no other people, and ideally not a photo where you're like cropping other people out. Should be just you in the photo. You also want to make sure that your face is very clearly visible and that you're wearing clothing that is appropriate for your preferred industry. And you do really want to have a profile photo. We want to avoid the mystery person here, because if you think like if you're on Facebook or Instagram or something and you get a friend request from a profile that doesn't have any photo, can be a little sus. So it's good to have a photo so that people can recognize you as a human and maybe feel a little more trusting to you. The other photo that you'll have is your banner photo, which is the larger kind of background photo behind your profile photo. And you want this to say something about you. So it can be very common if you're working for a certain organization or attending Harvey Mudd, you might have something about the company you're working for or your school as your photo, or just something about your interests. And again, this is at the top of your profile behind your headshot. Okay, so the next piece of your profile is your introduction, which is basically all of the text that you can see here in this screenshot. So it's going to be your name. You can include your pronouns. And then the headline is the text that is directly below your name. And this might be, it automatically populates with, if you have a current position, that's the text that will appear, or you can edit your headline to say something different, something specific that you want to say. So some examples of headlines that can be common for students, you might say recent, something graduate seeking certain type of position, or your major and aspiring, job title. And there are many, many other ways that your headlines can look. These are just some examples. And then, going back to the previous, thank you. And then below your headline or current position, we'll have your location and your contact information. And the contact information, this is one of the privacy features you can have. But if you want to share like an email address, you can include it there and people can be able to click on that and find your email. And then at the right will be where you work if you're working for a certain company, or or your education, your school. Thank you. Okay, great. Something to consider when setting up your profile is that you want to make sure that it is as complete as you can make it, which improves the strength of your profile. And having a stronger profile makes you more likely to get noticed by hiring managers. You may appear in more searches. So the more complete and strong your profile is, the more people may see it. And you just want to make sure that you're completing these different sections in your profile, like your photo, industry, education, skills, location, experiences, and your about section. Great. And then below all of that, you will have your about section. And this is just an open space where you can really define yourself in your own words. It is a personal introduction, so you do want to write in first person. I have seen some profiles that write in the third person, where the person is like referring to their own name. Don't need to do that. You can say I, my, me. Totally fine to use first person and recommended. So some possible topics that you might address in your about section could be what motivates you, what you're skilled at. And with this, you want to think about what recruiters might search for. So they might be using technical terms and skills. So it's good to include those in your about and elsewhere in your profile so that you do come up in searches for those terms. You might also think about what your goals are, what you've accomplished. It's pretty flexible to what you want to include and what you want to say about yourself in this section. Next. Great. Okay, and then below your about section will be activity. And this is a section that you can't necessarily like curate as much as you would your about section or your experience where you're plugging in information. Your activity section just shows basically what you've been doing elsewhere on LinkedIn. So if you like people's posts, if you comment on them, if you yourself create posts or reshare posts, this will all appear on your profile too. So it's good to be aware of this because this is a piece of your personal branding. So if you, in your about section, maybe you talk about yourself as being very progressive or something, but then maybe you're like commenting on or liking posts that are not really in line with that brand that you're creating for yourself. So you just want to make sure that everything that appears on your profile ideally is in line with whatever image you want to put out about yourself. So you just want to engage with related content, again, commenting on stuff, sharing things, so that appears on your profile. Great, and then below that, you'll have your experience section. And this is really, really very similar to how you might structure your resume, but you can have a lot more content on your LinkedIn profile, whereas your resume, you're limited to just the one-page document. Your LinkedIn, again, can be almost as long as you want it to be. And you want to write about and describe your experiences in the same way that you would in your resume. So we're using action statements, describing your accomplishments, and then LinkedIn automatically lists all of your experiences in reverse chronological order. So the most recent is first and it gets older as you go down. Next. Great. So just a little more details about how you would write these experience descriptions. Again, they should start with an action verb and then have more details around possibly the purpose of what you did or any notable results or accomplishments. So to think of these action statements and to kind of brainstorm and start writing them, you want to think about what you did for a certain experience. What was, generally the position description for what you did? But you really want to take it a step beyond that. This is just like kind of early brainstorming. So you want to think about choosing the actions that are most related to the job that you're wanting to apply to, or the type of jobs that you're interested in. And then you also want to format these into these more formal action statements with an action leading to, again, a result or accomplishment. Also thinking about quantifying wherever it makes sense to, and throwing in technical skills and concrete details so that people have a really good idea of what you've done in these different experiences and what you've been able to accomplish. And then you'll have your education section. And you want to include, LinkedIn will prompt you when you're setting up your profile to include these specific pieces of information, but you can include your expected graduation date, your degree, field of study. You might also, if you want to, include activities and societies. So these might be like clubs that you were a part of or are a part of. And you can also describe and put a little descriptive text in your education. It's definitely not necessary, but can be included if you want to. And you can also add media to your education section. So if you want to link out to other websites or include photos of anything, you can also add media to this section. Great. And then another section or part of your profile that you can have on LinkedIn is skills and endorsements. So you want to list at least 5 skills. And these, again, LinkedIn kind of prompts you to set this up, and you can just type in and it'll like a drop-down list will appear. And again, you want to have at least 5, but you can have as many as 50, I believe, is the max that you can have. And you want to highlight your top 3 most related skills. And this will appear how it does in a screenshot, where it just lists those 3 and then has show more. And then people do have to click on show more to see any other skills that you have listed. And you can see also in this screenshot on the right that it says endorsed by these different people. So these endorsements are just adding credibility to the skills that you're saying that you have. So you can ask people to endorse your skills on LinkedIn. You can also, be a pal and also endorse theirs if you know that they are skilled at that. And you can also ask for and give recommendations, which are like longer. People might write a little paragraph about you. Maybe it's a past supervisor or professor, and you can ask for recommendations like that. And this is, again, just another way to legitimize your skills and accomplishments. You can also take skills quizzes that LinkedIn has, just as, again, another way to legitimize your skills. Great. And then there are many, many other sections that LinkedIn has that you can include. So these might be licenses and certifications, publications, patents, projects, courses, organizations, languages, interests. And believe it or not, there are actually others that you can include too. None of these are necessary really, but if you have this information and want to include it, then it's something that you can do and something that LinkedIn has the structure for. And with that, I will pass it off to Alyssa.
Awesome. So yeah, when your profile is all complete and ready to go, we can go ahead and network using LinkedIn. So we'll start with what is networking. It's just building your genuine relationships, meeting new people. The easiest way to do it is finding something you have in common, striking up a conversation, or maybe just messaging. And just building those genuine relationships. And networking is not just an in the moment type of situation. Networking is something you want to think about long-term as well. You might meet someone at a conference or at a career fair, and the position just isn't right for you then, or you take something else. And down the road, if you're connected with them, especially on LinkedIn, you might see a position pop up at their company. You guys are already connected. You can reach out and just let them know, hey, I saw this position, I'm extremely interested in applying, and maybe you have some follow-up questions about the company in general or whatever it may be, since it's been a couple years. But it's just a really beneficial tool. and LinkedIn's great for it. It's the strongest link to information and people, and it is based on trust. So just be genuine. Everything you put on your LinkedIn profile should be accurate, and just really strike up those conversations as naturally as possible. I know it might be a little strange to just randomly reach out to someone, but again, if you find something in common or have questions that you genuinely want to ask, just start having those conversations and building your network. Relationships matter. That's Harvey Mudd's motto. Like I mentioned before, it's not just networking is not just something that needs to happen and only matters in this day and time. Down the line, you could also ask for like an informational interview. This would be great on your career path, especially right now if you're not sure what field you want to go into, what industry, if a company is really going to be a great fit for you. If you're building this network, you can find someone who's maybe in this dream position you want after college, or maybe has a higher up position that you're currently looking at in your 10-year plan. Strike up the question to ask. If you can have an informational interview and take the time to really get your questions answered, make sure it's the path that you want, make sure that you're taking the right steps to get you there and succeed. And it's just another great way to develop a relationship. Again, an informational interview is just questions for them, and it will build this relationship when they see this interest you have in their position, their company, their industry, and maybe again down the line, or even right then and there, if they have a position that you didn't know about, they might say, hey, this is a great position for you, and I remember that you were super excited about it, you had such an interest in the field, whatever it may be. So just build those relationships and never be afraid to ask for an informational interview. So why networking is important, besides all of the stuff I just said, these are some statistics that we've gathered from CNBC and LinkedIn. 70% of jobs are not published publicly on job sites. They might be published on their careers page, but they might not be advertising it, so it might be hard to find. So it's always great to get that little nudge and say, hey, this is being posted, you should apply. 80% of jobs, as much as 80% of jobs, are filled through personal or professional connections. Again, just proving how important networking can be and having those relationships. 79% globally find networking beneficial for career progression, yet only 48% consistently keep their network updated. So with all these statistics and benefits of networking, I really just wanted to take this statistic and tell you guys to make sure you're updating your LinkedIn with those accomplishments, awards, internships, research, whatever you're doing. Be in the smaller minority of people who are not constantly updating their network. If you post something and it pops up on a connections feed, they might think, oh, wow, this is great. They might have forgotten about your profile. If you post something and it pops up, they might take a look and say, this person will be great for this position we're going to post soon. So just make sure you're keeping them as updated as possible. Now we'll get into how you network specifically on LinkedIn. First of all, you want to have connections. If you don't have connections, no one will appear for you to get connected with. The best part about LinkedIn is that it kind of does the work for you once you've made your connections by giving you second and third degree connections. Those will pop up automatically, and it's great because maybe a professor has this connection at a company you're applying to. If you're following that professor, or if you're connected with that professor, you're following that company, LinkedIn will populate and say, hey, this person is a second degree connection, third degree connection. So it'll populate and it'll just allow you to grow your network a lot quicker. It kind of does the work for you in that sense. So it's always great to build your connections. You might wonder who you want to get connected with. Could get connected with, honestly, anyone and everyone that you've spoken to or want to speak to or have connections with already in real life. Like I said, LinkedIn has that great tool of showing you who your second and third degree connections are. So connect with your family and friends, colleagues, alumni, professors, people you meet at lab, work, or internships, conferences, even Starbucks and social gatherings. You never know who someone knows. So it's always great to build those connections, and in person and on LinkedIn. So one of the ways to find contacts for your connections would be on the Harvey Mudd College page. Alumni are great connections, and you guys already have something in common, being Mudders. if you go on this main Harvey Mudd College page on LinkedIn, you'll see this alumni tab. You can see there's over 7,000 alumni. And once you click on that tab, it'll take you to this page where you can search keywords, locations, majors, job titles, all the good stuff that you might be interested in. And it'll actually show you how many alumni live in the US, where they work, what major they had, and all these other different sections. So if you type in some keywords, this is a great place to look for people to do an informational interview on. They'll populate down here under people you may know. And again, if you have those second and third degree connections, those will pop up here as well on the bottom. So making sure you're just connecting with anyone and everyone, because you never know who's going to pop up in this section that you want to reach out to. And it'll be great if you guys already have a common connection. This is also a great place for informational interviews with the alumni. When you're looking at their profiles, make sure that you're taking into account their experiences and skills they've listed, all the basic things. It's great for gathering information because you don't want to walk into the informational interview not knowing anything when they have published it and you've connected on their profile so they know you've seen their profile. So make sure you have, just take a few notes maybe and just get familiar with their background so you can ask like hard-hitting questions and not just, hey, what did you do right after college? Because that's something you could look up really easily on their profile. You can see what you have in common, and you can have some startup questions like, hey, I saw you did this software engineer position. What if I wanted to do something similar, but not exact, but in the end, I wanted to end up being an assistant professor. So this is a great place to just gather that information and figure out just the important questions for your informational interview. There are other ways to connect beyond just the alumni. Like I said, you want to connect with anyone and everyone that you have something in common with or you want to build a genuine relationship with. You can find these people in groups, companies, job titles, locations, or just keywords. You can even just follow pages like NASA. I follow Disneyland because I like Disneyland, but there's a bunch of groups as well that you can follow. This example is chemistry, so chemistry and jobs, chemistry and people, chemistry and groups. You can join these groups, see what other people are posting, maybe build a connection there, message them, and just build your genuine relationship. When you're making your connection, you'll go to their profile and you'll see this connect button right here, and then you'll be able to make a note. It's great to add a note, even if you have met them in person, just to say, it was great meeting you at the conference. I would love to stay connected. And then if you haven't met them in person, it's really great to make a note to tell them why you're making this connection. So it's not just a stranger randomly trying to connect with everyone. That takes away from the genuine relationship you're trying to build. So if you give them the reasoning as to why you want to connect, that'd be great. And they will probably love the connection more. This is just an example of a note you might say. Hello, Jeanette. It was nice meeting you at the Grace Hopper conference last week. As I mentioned, I'm interested in software engineering and staying connected to exchange ideas about how to help young women in the industry. Short and sweet. You're reminding them where you met and why you want to stay connected, and they will most likely accept because you're building this genuine connection. And since you guys have the same interest, they would love to connect and probably continue to talk to you as well. And with all of that, you can always get more assistance from OCS on your LinkedIn profile, how to build it if you just want to review, if you're struggling to find some alumni or make connections or utilize all the features like job searching as well. You can always make an appointment with us. I know we're going to do some review right now, but if your profile is going to go under construction and you want us to review it again later, we'd be happy to. And this time, if you guys have any questions, feel free to unmute yourselves.